How do I? How do I? Oh, that's huge. I feel shorter than normal. I feel short. Let me put my chair down. Trump says he's thinking more about God after a recent assassination attempt. Well, gee, Willikers there, bud. Oh, that's lovely. Motivational speaker. What a name, TikTok, my friend. What a name. What a killer name. Wild, wild, wild. SBC Executive Committee creates a department dedicated to fighting sexual abuse. The Southern Baptist Convention. I don't know about that. Valentina Shelley? How do you say that? Chalet. All right, I am opening the Discord voice, so that'll be good to go. And Patricia is there. Oh, thank God. That's super annoying. U.S. demands Israel withdrawal pre-1967 borders within a year, limiting Israel's ability to fight terrorism. Terrorism. George, what's going on? Just kidding. Jorge. You guys will find I'm the worst at reading and then saying things properly, which is not a good character quality or trait for somebody who does what I do. But you'll notice I do it often, because I learned 99% of everything I've ever learned, not through speech, but through reading. So I pronounce things wrong very often, because I pronounce it how it reads, and it's usually wrong. Just wait till we go back to Enoch. Enoch was a crap show, because I just had never had to pronounce these words for years and years and years. Just read them. It was a fun time, though. Everybody got to make fun of me massively. So I suppose that's enjoyable. While we wait, anybody who's watching this later, we have a Discord. There is a link. There's Patricia. There's a link in the live chat. It is pinned to the top. There's also a link in the description of every video on this channel. We do just the Bible study here. This is at Live Bible Study. I have other videos and stuff going back many years on at Tattooed Theist. We moved from that for many reasons, but that is going to be much more, it's going to be very different type of stuff than we do here. This is straight Bible study. Tonight we're doing Adam and Eve, continuing. We're quickly encroaching on the end, which is great, because I'm eager to get into part 2. So these are considered to be the forgotten books of Eden. Totally subjective to the collector of these. The problem with the Apocrypha, which is what this is, not canon, Apocrypha, is that some people accept it, some people don't. The majority of people do not. But of the ones who do accept it, there is still no unity on even the names of them sometimes. You'll find very similar texts with only certain things translated differently under a different name. But for all intents and purposes, the collection is called the Forgotten Books of Eden. It is apocryphal collection, meaning not a part of the canon. In our context, that's not what the word means, but for all intents and purposes, again, it's non-canonical. The Forgotten Books of Eden. This includes, but is not limited to, Adam and Eve 1 and Adam and Eve 2. We are nearing the end of Adam and Eve 1. So we'll be continuing on the Adam and Eve 1 train. And then once we finish it, we'll go straight into Adam and Eve 2. Pastora, you lovely person. Lord help us, Tampa. Good to see you. One other kind of like housekeeping thing, I guess, is that... Where's the Discord at? There you go. So if you don't get notifications on Discord, please do it if you're actually a part of what we do. This is very important because I'll never spam you. But check yes on this. Channels and roles, and then right here. Hit yes. Because the only notifications you'll ever get are these announcement ones. It's the only time I ever tag the group of people who turn on those notifications. Ever. And this is like wanting you to vote on things. Like this poll. And telling you, hey, we have to change the time of something. Only things that you genuinely need to know, you'll get a notification for that. So please, please, please turn that on. Otherwise, you'll be stranded sometimes and wondering where the heck we're at. The most recent one that I asked is to add a third stream a week. We used to do this open forum topic discussion where every weekend I'd post a poll with 3 to 5 topics like what is salvation actually? Or do pets go to heaven? Or something to that effect. And then the community votes on the topic. Whatever wins is what we do the stream on. And then the stream is just everybody in Discord, basically in this voice channel. Everybody will pile in here, and then we just talk. We talk it through. We'll do like some live searching for answers and things. I'll come with some content like pre-ready, but it's very much just an open conversation about whatever was voted on to be talked about. We stopped doing it because of time restraints on my part, because the Bible studies, a lot of this is already in my head, so it takes very little prep work for me. The other took some prep work. So, but I'd like to bring it back, is the whole moral of the story. So if you haven't already put input here, Tuesday seems to be the best day for, the biggest group of people. So it'll probably be Tuesday that we add. 6 p.m. is what was asked for. And then I asked, when do you want to do which streams? And then you guys can vote by using the reaction. So please do that if you haven't done that, because that'll help me make the best decision that will, help and work for the most people, which is always the goal. Beyond that, we're good to go. So, Adam and Eve, thank you. Yeah, do that if you haven't. It helps. But only if you're planning on coming. Ghost, good to see you. I hope you're getting figured out, whatever it is you need to get figured out. Or you're having fun would be better. But I assume you're sorting things out. Okay. Satan began to lead astray Adam and Eve. Already misleading, because I feel like he's been doing this the whole time. But whatever. But when Adam and Eve went down to the land of black mud, that's new, and came near to the wheat God had showed them, and saw it ripe and ready for reaping, as they had no sickle to reap it withal, they girt themselves and began to pull up the wheat until it was all done. Then they made it into a heap, and faint from heat and from thirst, they went under a shady tree where the breeze fanned them to sleep. But Satan saw what Adam and Eve had done, and he called his hosts, here we go again, and said to them, since God has shown to Adam and Eve all about this wheat, wherewith to strengthen their bodies, and lo, they are come and have made a heap of it, and faint from the toil are now asleep. Come, let us set fire to this heap of corn, and burn it, and let us take that bottle of water that is by them, and empty it out, so that they may find nothing to drink, and we kill them with hunger and thirst. Then, when they wake up from their sleep, this is all Satan, when they wake up from their sleep and seek to return to the cave, we will come to them in the way and will lead them astray, so that they die of hunger and thirst, when they may, perhaps, deny God, and he destroy them. So shall we be rid of them? Then Satan and his hosts threw fire upon the wheat and consumed it. But from the heat of the flame, Adam and Eve awoke from their sleep and saw the wheat burning, and the bucket of water by them poured out. Then they wept and went back to the cave. But as they were going up from below the mountain where they were, Satan and his hosts met them in the form of angels praising God. This is a recurring thing. They will imitate or act as though, or perhaps look as though, they're angels, at least in the literal sense. Then Satan said to Adam, "O Adam, why art thou so pained with hunger and thirst? It seems to me that Satan has burnt up the wheat." He is Satan, just so there's absolute clarity. He is Satan. But he says, it seems as though Satan has burned up all the wheat. And Adam said to him, "Aye, yes." Again, Satan said to Adam, "Come back with us. We are angels of God. God sent us to you to show you another field of corn better than that. And beyond it is a fountain of good water and many trees where you shall dwell near it and work the cornfield to better purpose than that which Satan has consumed." So he sets fire to what they have and then comes to them appearing to be an angel or something trustworthy at the very least, masquerading as, which is kind of a recurring theme. And now he's proposing something new to them, something that is better, something that God had prepared for them, because now they've lost what they had. So come to this. All the while, obviously, is a lie, is not true. And he's trying to convince them to come with him to greener pastures. By saying, beyond is a fountain of good water and many trees, where you shall dwell near it and work the cornfield to better purpose than that which Satan has consumed. This is better. I'm taking you to better. Adam thought that he was true, that he was telling the truth, and that they were angels who talked with him. And he went back with them. How many times can one dude get duped by the same dude? It's just over and over and over and over. Then Satan began to lead astray Adam and Eve 8 days, until they both fell down as if dead, from hunger, thirst, and faintness. Then he fled with the hosts, and he left them. So, from all appearances, he's succeeded at the goal. That was the goal. Let's kill them, destroy them, via hunger and thirst. Hopeful that they will deny God, and that he, being God, destroy them. So far, successful-ish, for the most part, 90% successful. How destruction and trouble is of Satan when he is the master. Adam and Eve established the custom of worship. That's the title here. Then God looked upon Adam and Eve and upon what had come upon them from Satan, and how he had made them perish. God, therefore, sent his word. There's that again. God sent his word and raised up Adam and Eve from their state of death. Then Adam, when he was raised, said, "Oh, God," actually, hold on. I feel like that's new too. Let me make a note, because I want to go back and look at that. Because it's many, so many times. We've had this as if dead, as if dead, as if dead. I'd like to kind of get to the bottom of that. His word. That drives me insane, Mikkel. His word drives me insane. But it's always as if dead. Over and over and over. Just perpetually, repeatedly. But this is different. God therefore sent his word and raised up Adam and Eve from their state of death. I feel like from memory, that's different as the response to the as if dead. Their state of death. It makes it sound more definitive prior to now. And it's something that I want to look at. That's an absolute undeniable fact. Why does that sound so familiar? Well, that's from the thing today, huh? I said that today, didn't I? I think I know what you're talking about. Anyways, I'm going to look into this later because I'm curious about this. I feel like this is different as a response to what we've seen 1,000 times in the as if dead. This seems like a more definitive response, so I'm curious about that. Then Adam, when he was raised, said, "Oh God, you have burnt and taken from us the corn you had given to us." So Adam is blaming God for what Satan had done. and you have emptied out the bucket of water, and you have sent your angels who have waylaid us from the cornfield. So not only is he blaming God, but he's blaming God because he does believe still that Satan and the hosts were the angels from God. Again, because we've done this so many times. Will you make us perish? If this be from you, O God, then take away our souls, but punish us not. Would that not be a punishment? Then God said to Adam, I did not burn down the wheat, and I did not pour the water out of the bucket, and I did not send my angels to lead you astray. You idiot. How many times are we going to do this? Little brother, little friend. But it is Satan, your master. I love that. But it is Satan, your master, who did it. He to whom you have subjected yourself. This is gorgeous, gorgeous text. But it is Satan, your master, who did it. He to whom you have subjected yourself. You did it to you. You allowed him to do it. My commandment being meanwhile set aside. He's so harsh sometimes. I love it. He it is who burned down the corn and poured out the water, and who has led you astray. And all the promises he has made you, verily, are but vain. They are nothing, and deceit and a lie. How savage. Satan, your master, who you have subjected yourself to, my commandments all the while being set aside, because you're continuing to not listen to me when I tell you to stop falling for this. He burnt it down. He poured out the water. He is leading you astray. All by means of deceit and lies. But now, O Adam, you shall acknowledge my good deeds done to you. And God told his angels to take Adam and Eve and to bear them up to the field of wheat, which they had found as before, with the bucket full of water. So they're going back. There they saw a tree and found on it solid manna. That's a first in this text, I believe. That's the first reference of manna. 99% sure. And wondered at God's power. So they saw the tree, found on it solid manna, and wondered in wonder, fantastical, at God's power. And the angels commanded them to eat of the manna when they were hungry. And God adjured Satan with a curse, not to come again and destroy the field of corn. Then Adam and Eve took the corn and made of it an offering, and took it and offered it up on the mountain, the place where they had offered up their first offering of blood. That's a bookmark. And they offered this oblation again on the altar they had built at first. And they stood up and prayed and besought the Lord, saying, Thus, O God, when we were in the garden, did our praises go up to you like this offering, and our innocence went up to you like incense burning. But now, O God, accept this offering from us and turn us not back, reft of your mercy. One quick side note is and we've talked, this is something we did do one of those podcasts, open discussions on a long time ago. But we talked about kind of like how would you describe it? Things like incense and oils, and other things that like nowadays are kind of attributed to New Age Christianity and to like the occult in many cases, or to just paganism in general, because that's an umbrella term. And we talked about how frequent they're actually spoken of in the Bible, things like incense and oils, and how these things were incorporated pretty heavily in a lot of the Jewish practices, but how they also popped up in early Christianity as well, and how it just became something, I don't know when, but throughout history to now, it's something that is so heavily looked down on by like the modern Christian. I just find it very interesting, and it's something to just make a mental note about. It doesn't go against the Bible. It actually is very in line with the Bible. And I'm not someone who burns incense. I don't use oils. So it's not like I'm coming from a personal bias point. But it's just something to think about, is that it's very cohesive with, Patricia said they use frankincense in Eastern Orthodox service. It's beautiful. Right, and Catholics to varying degrees use certain things too. It's just one of those really interesting things that just died at some point. And then it didn't just stay dead, but it began to become something that was looked down on and was seen as like heretical and became tied to paganism in general. It's just very interesting. All because I saw the word incense here. So not only in the canon, but also in the Apocrypha. And it shows up in a lot of the rest of the Apocrypha too. But it's just something to keep in the back here. It's something, if you never looked into it, look into it. It's very common. It was very common. It was a huge part of religious services. It was a huge part of prayer. And it was commanded in some cases to be used. But we don't do that today. And we don't even like to talk about it. Just very interesting. But now, O God, accept this offering from us and turn us not back reft of thy mercy. Then God said to Adam and Eve, since you have made this oblation and have offered it to me, I shall make it my flesh. I shall make it my flesh. When I come down upon earth, here we go. I shall make it my flesh when I come down upon earth to save you. We've had 2 other crushing eggshells as protection. Right, that's what we watched, like some TikTok videos of witchcraft. You just reminded me. Yeah, I think we talked about it when we talked about witchcraft. I think that's absolutely correct. So if you go to the Tattooed Theist YouTube and you search witchcraft theist thesis, I'll put it in here. I bet you'll find it by searching that. I think we did 2 parts, so I think it's more than 2 hours. But we watched like some TikTok stuff and we talked about some of those things and like, where is the line between doing weird things with items or oils or whatever? I used to be into witchcraft, admittedly. Patricia said, yeah, then you should watch those because they were interesting. And we watched some interesting videos and then talked about them. And that'll give you some insight to what the stream that we're going to add again, it was a lot of fun. It was always very good. Anyways, there was one other point that was massive in Adam and Eve 1, where we got this extremely clear picture of the Messiah. Like the author is laying out what would be seen as the Messiah came into reality. And then we get this mention of it here. I shall make it my flesh, the offering. Since you have made this oblation and have offered it to me, I shall make it my flesh when I come down upon earth to save you. These are like, this is an outlier. It's not talked about often in this text. It doesn't come up often in the text. But when it does come up, it's significant. It's meaningful. So I'm curious to see where it goes. And I shall cause it to be offered continually upon an altar for forgiveness and for mercy unto those who partake of it duly. Very interesting. And God sent a bright fire upon the offering of Adam and Eve and filled it with brightness, grace, and light. And the Holy Ghost came down upon that oblation. Then God commanded an angel to take fire tongs. Hold on. Has Holy Ghost shown up? I feel like maybe once or twice. I don't feel like it's been a common or a recurring thing in this text. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm remembering wrong. Then God commanded an angel to take fire tongs, like a spoon, and with it to take an offering and bring it to Adam and Eve. And the angel did so, as God had commanded him, and offered it to them. And the souls of Adam and Eve were brightened, and their hearts were filled with joy and gladness, and with the praises of God. And God said to Adam, this shall be unto you a custom to do so when affliction and sorrow come upon you. This shall become a custom to do when affliction and sorrow come upon you. But your deliverance and your entrance into the garden shall not be until the days are fulfilled, as agreed between you and me. He will not let up on this agreement. He's very stubborn about this agreement, which is great. As agreed between you and me, were it not so, I would, of my mercy and my pity for you, bring you back to my garden and to my favor for the sake of the offering you have just made to my name. So this offering is obviously of pretty relevant significance. If we're getting this much attention from it, the angels become involved, they get reciprocation from God. The angel brings back to them. It also ties in the Messiah, which is obviously pretty freaking significant. And then we get this command that it will become a custom. This shall be a custom to do so when affliction and sorrow come upon you. But we're going to hold to the deal that we made until the days are fulfilled. So baby boy and baby girl, you're not going back in the garden yet. Adam rejoiced at these words, which he heard from God. And he and Eve worshipped before the altar, to which they bowed, and then went back to the cave of treasures. There it is, bada boom. And this took place at the end of the 12th day, after the 18th day, from the time Adam and Eve came out of the garden. And they stood up the whole night praying until morning, and then went out of the cave. Then Adam said to Eve, with joy of heart, because of the offering they had made to God, and that had been accepted of him, let us do this 3 times every day, on the 4th day, Wednesday, on the preparation day, Friday, and on the Sabbath, Sunday, all the days of our life. This is suspect. This is suspect. I would look into this. Suspect. I have feelings of added laterness to that area right there. Guess we gotta kick out Patricia now because she's a witch. Yeah. I don't remember it 100%. I'll say it's definitely a story when people ask about. Yeah, it's a story you definitely have to tell us at some point. You're not the first, just to be clear. We had somebody else who had engaged in some witchy stuff for a while. So you're not the first, so don't feel bad. Do we know who wrote these Adam and Eve texts, or are they unknown? So Ghost said, I think some Christian guy in the Middle Ages wrote this, but I'm not sure. Definitely a Christian though. Yeah, there. If you search it, you'll find Graves. Good to see you. You'll find answers. Take them with a grain of salt. I would say it's unknown. I would say it's unknown. You'll find some answers though. So if you find any of those names, I want to say I was able to find 3 different names of authorship for this. Just look into them, but take it with a grain of salt for sure. Okay. So yeah, we get these days, right? Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Sunday being the Sabbath is also very it's very suspect because it wasn't the Sabbath until later. A Catholic wrote this. So this is interesting. Like this to me is added, or adds validity to what Ghost just said about this being a Christian guy much later, because that just wasn't the case. Like if this was a Jewish author, anytime near the actual time of the story, that wouldn't make any sense at all. So it indicates something. It indicates several things, I guess, but just keep that in mind. It's like someone wrote fan fiction on Adam and Eve. It kind of is. Yes, it kind of is. And as they agreed to these words between themselves, God was pleased with their thoughts and with the resolution they had each taken with the other. After this came the word of God to Adam and said, O Adam, you have determined beforehand the days in which sufferings shall come upon me. Me, God. Word of God talking, me. When I am made flesh, here it is again, when I am made flesh, for they are the 4th Wednesday and the preparation day Friday. One more time. O Adam, you have determined beforehand the days in which sufferings shall come upon me. Shall come upon me when I am made flesh. Is that a reference then to the Messiah? And he's not talking as Yahweh? I would say yes. For they are the 4th Wednesday and the preparation day, Friday. But as to the first day, I created it in all things, and I raised the heavens. And again, through my rising again on this day, I will create joy and raise them on high. I will create joy and raise them on high, who believe in me. O Adam, offer this oblation all the days of your life. This is getting odd. Then God withdrew his word from Adam. But Adam continued to offer this oblation, thus every week 3 times until the end of 7 weeks. And on the first day, which is the 50th, Adam made an offering as he was wont, and he and Eve took it and came to the altar before God as he had taught them. Title: 12th apparition of Satan to Adam and Eve, the 12th. So many times. While Adam was praying over their offering upon the altar, when Satan smote him. Getting back to some good old-fashioned smotings. Basically, yeah. Then Satan, the hater of all good, envious of Adam and of his offering through which he had found favor with God, hastened and took a sharp stone from among sharp iron stones, appeared in the form of a man, and went and stood by Adam and Eve. That should immediately be suspect, because there's nobody else around. Adam was then offering on the altar and had begun to pray, with his hands spread to God. Then Satan hastened with the sharp iron stone he had with him, and with it pierced Adam on the right side, when flowed blood and water. Then Adam fell upon the altar like a corpse, and Satan fled. So Satan stabbed him. Satan, appearing or masquerading again as a man, stabs him, not as an angel, as a man, walks up on Adam, gives him a little shank to the side, blood and water flow, and then Adam falls on the altar like a corpse. Then Eve came and took Adam and placed him below the altar, and there she stayed, weeping over him, while a stream of blood flowed from Adam's side upon his offering. There's got to be significance to that. So Adam falls on the altar, and then Eve comes, and Eve takes Adam and puts him under the altar, and then she stayed there, weeping over him, while a stream of blood flowed from Adam's side upon his offering. But God looked upon the death of Adam. He then sent his word and raised him up and said to him, fulfill your offering, for indeed, Adam, it is worth much, and there is no shortcoming in it. It's kind of a compliment. God's saying, like, the offering that Adam is giving was sufficient, which is not always the case. It's not always the case. I didn't know we were doing math tonight. It's always math. There's always math. What, he died? We'll wait. We'll just wait. Like dead. Like death. You'll see. Just hang tight. God said further unto Adam, thus will it also happen to me on the earth when I shall be pierced and blood. There it is. I knew this was coming. When I shall be pierced and blood shall flow, blood and water from my side and run over my body, which is the true offering, and which shall be offered on the altar as a perfect offering. Yeah, if you didn't see this coming, you got to pay better attention. Because, spoiler alert, Adam dies. Yeah, but how many times? You had to see this coming. The way Adam died, some of the symbolism in there, but just the being stuck in the side, the blood and water, because that's kind of what you hear with Jesus too when he was speared up there. You had to see that coming. So he's relating it to obviously the crucifixion of Christ. Spoiler alert, prophecy. So perfect offering is Jesus doing this. And so God is encouraging him that what he's doing is no shortcoming and to continue on. Then God commanded Adam to finish his offering. And when he had ended it, he worshiped before God and praised him for the signs he had shown him. So he had kind of given him a preview of what the perfect offering would be. He's having Adam and Eve do these offerings that will become habitual. He was very clear about that. It will become a custom And then this thing happens to Adam that is very eerily similar to what happens to Jesus Christ later. And then he uses this to relate to the death of Jesus Christ. This is definitely a way after the fact retcon. Still interesting though. Right. Like so much of that just it oozes the knowing of, for sure, but very interesting. All right, so God heals Adam in one day. So there you go. He's not dead. Spoiler alert, Adam never actually dies. Or he dies many times. Who knows? And God healed Adam in one day, which is the end of the 7 weeks. And that is the 50th day. Then Adam and Eve returned from the mountain and went into the cave of treasures, as they were used to so many times. This completed for Adam and Eve 140 days since their coming out of the garden. 140 days since coming out of the garden. Then they both stood up that night and prayed to God. And when it was morning, they went out and went down westward of the cave to the place where their corn was, and there rested under the shadow of a tree, as they were wont. But when there a multitude of beasts came all around them, it was Satan's doing, and his wickedness, in order to wage war against Adam through mirage. Interesting jump there. Title, 13th, just going step by step now. 13th apparition of Satan to Adam and Eve to make war against him through his mirage with Eve, his marriage with Eve. After this, Satan, the hater of all good, took the form of an angel, typo, and with him 2 others, so hosts, so that they looked like the 3 angels who had brought to Adam gold, incense, and myrrh. Here we go again. They passed before Adam and Eve while they were under the tree and greeted Adam and Eve with fair words that were full of guile. But when Adam and Eve saw their comely mien, I'm not familiar. Hold on. Let my ignorance shine here. Pleasing to the eye, pretty, attractive, homeliness. Never heard it. But when Adam and Eve saw their comely mien, is mien a different thing, or is this a typo too? There's already been several on this page. Or is it I'm just ignorant? A person's look or manner, especially one of a particular kind, indicating their character and mood. So I'm just ignorant. So they're pretty. Personality? Their character and mood? Gorgeous, good mood, apparently. Adam and Eve saw their pretty or attractive, good mood. We'll go with that because it's close enough. Apologize for my absolute ignorance. And heard their sweet speech. Adam rose, welcomed them, and brought them to Eve, and they remained all together. Adam's heart, the while, being glad because he thought concerning them that they were the same angels who had brought him gold, incense, and myrrh. So they're obviously imitating the same angels. So it's interesting that they feel the need to describe them so specifically. Because when they came to Adam the first time, there came upon him from them peace and joy through their bringing him good tokens. So Adam thought that they had come a second time to give him other tokens for him to rejoice again. For he did not know it was Satan. Therefore did he receive them with joy and companied with them and hung out with them. I'm going to look up when mien was a common word to use. That's a great idea. That's a fabulous idea. That and comely, unless I'm just being super ignorant on that. But the comely and mien or Mayan, way over my head. And I don't recall seeing them in like other things I've read. So I would love to see that if you dig into that, what time period that was. Anyway, so Adams thinks it's the same angels who had brought him gifts before, tokens before. So he's not suspect as usual. He welcomes them in. He feels joy like he felt last time. And now he's spending time with them. He's companied with them. Then Satan, the tallest of them, said, "Rejoice, O Adam, and be glad. Lo, God has sent us to you to tell you something. And Adam said, what is it? Then Satan answered, it is a light thing, yet it is a word of God. Will you hear it from us and do it? But if you hear not, we will return to God and tell him that you would not receive his word. The thing is like the actual angels have never approached Adam and Eve with this type of rhetoric of like, we need to tell you something. It's from God. Will you accept it? But if you don't, we're absolutely going to go tell on you to God and say that you would not receive his word. The angels have never done that. So it should immediately set off 1,000 red flags. So the word Go said is the early 16th century. Seems about right. Yeah, it does seem about right. That's great. I'm glad you did it. That was a great idea. Adam, fear not, neither let a trembling come upon you. Dost not you know us? Do you not know us, Adam? But Adam said, no, I don't. I know you not. Then Satan said to him, I am the angel who brought you gold and took it to the cave. This other one is he who brought you the incense. And that third one is he who brought you the myrrh. When you were on the top of the mountain and who carried you to the cave. We were those angels. We were them. But as to the other angels, our fellows, who bear you to the cave, God has not sent them with us this time. For he said to us, you suffice. He said to Satan and the hosts masquerading as angels, you guys are good enough. You guys go. So when Adam heard these words, he believed them. Shocking. Shocking. And said to these angels, who were not actually angels because it's Satan and the hosts, speak the word of God, that I may receive it. And Satan said to them, swear and promise me that you will receive it. This is so suspect. This is so wildly suspect. Then Adam said, I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to swear and promise. I know not how to swear and promise. And Satan said to him, hold out your hand and put it inside my hand. This is giving me Genesis, what was it, 22, 23 vibes? 23, 24, when we were talking about the hand under the thigh. If you missed Genesis on Sunday, go listen to it. Because we talked about a few things that I can almost guarantee you didn't know. Because nobody does. And it's really interesting stuff. And this is giving me those vibes. And Satan said to him, hold out your hand and put it inside my hand. So hold my hand. Then Adam held out his hand and put it into Satan's hand. When Satan said to him, say now, so true as God is living, rational and speaking, who raised the heavens in the space, and established the earth upon the waters, and has created me out of the four elements, and out of the dust of the earth, I will not break my promise, nor renounce my word. So I guess a couple things to note is it's important to take note of the fact that Adam said, I don't know how to do that. Is that the angels are asking him to do something now that he's yet to be asked to do by either God, the actual angels, or Satan. And now he's being asked to do it. So even though this feels like the same old freaking merry-go-round we've been on this entire time, there is some difference to this. Significance being Adam saying, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to swear. Satan says, swear and promise that you'll receive this word. And Adam's like, how do I do that? What does that mean? What am I doing? And so Satan had to explain it to him. El said, how was Adam supposed to discern that? Did he know Satan existed? So El, yes, is the short answer. Yes, because we are on a merry-go-round of Satan tricking Adam and Eve over and over and over and over. If you haven't been with us every Thursday, I totally understand the question. But for those who have been here, they're like, yes, he should know better. Yes, he should be able to discern this. Ellie, that's me. I shouldn't speak for you guys. I absolutely believe Adam should be able to discern this by now. But I understand that's not the point of the story. The point isn't for him to discern it and to like smart through it. There's a different purpose, in my opinion. But on its face, Adam should not be continuing to fall for this because we've done this at least 12 times. They gave it to us at the beginning. 13 times now. This is the 13th time in this text Satan has tricked Adam and Eve into doing basically the same stuff over and over and over. It's a part of the, me neither, L. Don't think any of us have read this. I feel like a baby Christian right now. I've never heard any of this literature or scripture. It's not, so for clarity's sake, this is not canon. So it's not a part of your Bible. Obviously, I feel like you know that. The Apocrypha is a very different animal. Much less validity, I guess is the word to use. Much less to back it. Much less corroboration. Most of it, to some degree, can be proven it wasn't written by who it's listed as being written by, but not all. And much of it can be proven that it wasn't written during the time period that it says it was. A great example was what Ghost just did, where there were some words that I didn't know what they meant. They don't show up in any of the Bible, ever. And they don't show up in a lot of the other apocryphal texts. So Ghost did a very quick word study on that, or search, to see when those words were popular. And he found that they were popular in the early 16th century. If I had to guess, without actually doing it, and because I don't remember, I would guess that this is said to be written not in the early 16th century, but because of context clues and words that we can very easily, like Ghost just did, find out when they were actually used, you can make kind of a decent confirmation that it was probably not written when it said it was. So all of the Apocrypha should just be taken with a grain of salt. They're, for the most part, there's a reason it's not a part of the canon. Just keep that in mind. It's part of the Apocrypha. It's not a part of the canon Bible. Metaphor for self-deception. Yeah, it seems much more likely than some of the other possible interpretations of the meaning. Wow, LOL, same stuff, just different manifestation. Right. Okay, so Adam is learning right now, for the first time, how to swear, which we also talked at length about on Sunday. So if you were not there on Sunday, it is another good one to go back for, because swearing was a really, really big deal. And this is when he's learning. Adam swore this. Then Satan said to him, so Adam agreed, he made the oath, is basically what it is. A swearer is an oath. Then Satan said to him, lo, it is now some time since you came out of the garden, and you know neither wickedness nor evil. But now God says to you to take Eve, who came out of your side, and to wed her, to marry her, that she bear you children, to comfort you, and to drive from you trouble and sorrow. Now this thing is not difficult, neither is there any scandal in it to you. Very reassuring. Adam is troubled by his wedding with Eve, is the title of the next section. But when Adam heard these words from Satan, he sorrowed much, because of his oath and of his promise, and said, shall I commit adultery with my flesh and my bones? And shall I sin against myself for God to destroy me and to blot me out from the face of this earth? Since when at first I ate of the tree, he drove me out of the garden into this strange land and deprived me of my bright nature. My bright nature, there's that again. Deprived me of my bright nature and brought death upon me. If then I should do this, he will cut off my life from the earth, and he will cast me into hell, and will plague me there a long time, quite some time. But God never spoke the words that you told me, and you are not God's angels, nor yet sent from him. But you are devils, come to me under false appearance of angels. Away from me, you cursed of God. He figured it out. What great news. He figured it out after he made an oath with the devil. After he literally made a deal with the devil. God never spoke those words that you have told me. You are not God's angels, nor are you sent by him, but you are devils. Come to me under a false appearance of angels. Away from me, ye cursed of God. Then those devils fled from before Adam, and he and Eve arose and returned to the cave of treasures and went into it. Then Adam said to Eve, if you saw what I did, tell it not. Don't tell. For I sinned against God in swearing. Okay, so I thought I read that wrong. I thought this was Eve talking. This is Adam talking, which makes much more sense. So Adam's saying, if you saw what I did, if you saw what I saw, Eve, don't tell anybody. For I sinned against God by swearing by his great name, and I have placed my hand another time, yet again, baby girl, into that of Satan's. Eve then held her peace, as Adam told her. Held her peace means kept her mouth shut. She did as she was asked, and is not saying a word of it. Then Adam arose and spread his hands up to God, beseeching and entreating him with tears to forgive him what he had done. And Adam remained thus standing and praying 40 days and 40 nights. What? So Adam told Eve not to speak of this. To who then? If it wasn't to God, to who? Is my question. Makes Eve promise not to talk about it. Eve then held her peace. She kept her mouth shut, as Adam told her to. But then Adam goes to God and prays for forgiveness for what he had done. The insinuation would be that he confessed what he had done. And Adam remained standing and praying for 40 days and 40 nights. For all the numerology people, there's your significant number of the night. He neither ate nor drank until he dropped down upon the earth from hunger and thirst, yet again. Then God sent his word to Adam, who raised him up from where he lay, and said to him, O Adam, why have you sworn by my name? And why have you made an agreement with Satan again? Adam, Adam, why? Why, bro, why? But Adam wept and said, O God, forgive me, for I did this unwittingly, believing they were God's angels. Again, for the 13th time. And God forgave Adam, saying to him, beware of Satan. No lecture? Usually this is the part where we get a lecture. All God says here, this is totally wild, actually. This is very different from the normal merry-go-round. So normally what happens is God gets upset. God expresses some kind of punishment. But at the very least, he gives them a lecture of why this was bad. Here you get none of that, and God forgives him. So God forgave Adam, and all God said was, beware of Satan. This makes me think there may be a shift coming soon. And he withdrew his word from Adam. Then Adam's heart was comforted, and he took Eve, and they went out of the cave to make some food for their bodies. But from that day, Adam struggled in his mind about his wedding Eve, afraid, as he was to do it, lest God should be wroth with him. Then Adam and Eve went to the river of water and sat on the bank, as people do when they enjoy themselves. What an odd verse. Then Adam and Eve went to the river of water and sat on the bank, as people do when they enjoy themselves. But Satan was jealous of them and would destroy them. So odd. Adam had genuine repentance. You think that's what it was? That was the differentiating factor? I'd have to read a few of the previous ones and try to put them side by side. But that would make sense. It would make sense. I picture it more like, without going back, I picture it more of like God is just exhausted and is like, I forgive you. Let's move on. I forgive you. Beware of Satan. How many times am I going to give you the same lecture over and over? But I would want to look again. But that's like my initial take on it. I'd get that beach verse tattooed on me, right? Isn't that great? I love that. I love this because you can just tell this is so out of place. There's been no other sentence like this. Adam and Eve went to the river of water, sat on the bank, as people do when they enjoy themselves. But Satan was jealous, and he's going to kill him. What a great couple of verses, 13 and 14. Make some food for their bodies. I love these descriptions, right? Isn't it hilarious? You got to love it. Sorry, just joined. What book is this? Benito on TikTok. This is not a part of the canon. This is not in your Bible. We're reading extra canonical texts. I suggest you go to YouTube. It's at Live Bible Study. This is from the Apocrypha. And we're not saying it should be in the canon. We're not saying it's inspired by God. We're reading it for entertainment purposes and for a greater context of the time. And for fun, because it's fun. But go to that YouTube channel because TikTok sucks for what we're doing. Everything is very big. It's very easy to see. And we have people who are awesome over on YouTube. Okay, Adam's heart is set on fire. Then Satan and 10 of his hosts, and 10 from his hosts, 10 of, typo. Then Satan and 10 of his hosts transformed themselves into maidens. Here we go. Unlike any others in the whole world for grace. You gotta love how this is all expressed. I believe that's new. Maidens. The what they're going to masquerade as. I believe that's new. I would want to double check. And I also believe this number is higher than at least the majority, if not all of them. 10 is, it's usually been, from what I remember, like 3 to 6, maybe. But fewer than 10. Satan's cross-dressing arc. Right, this is where it begins. This is where it begins. They came up out of the river in presence. It is canon in Orthodox or Catholic, or is this Gnostic? So it depends, Benito, but good question. It depends is the answer. Some Orthodox will accept all of the Apocrypha. Some Orthodox will accept portions of the Apocrypha. The same goes for Catholics. I believe they don't include this if you're Roman Catholic. 80% sure, 20% open to being wrong, because I haven't looked in many, many years. But I want to say Adam and Eve are not included in the Roman Catholic Bible. But many of the other apocryphal texts are. I hope that answers your question. Okay, they came up out of the river in presence of Adam and Eve, and they said among themselves, "Come, we will look at the faces of Adam and of Eve, who are of the men upon earth. Who are of the men upon earth. How beautiful they are, and how different is their look from our own faces." Then they came to Adam and Eve and greeted them and stood wondering. Adam and Eve looked at them also and wondered at their beauty and said, "Is there then under us another world with such beautiful creatures as these in it?" I am very intrigued by this. There's a lot of difference in this. I'm going to read it again. I want to have a firmer grasp here because this is different. So they came up out of the river. They came up out of the river. Like, first, just picture that. Adam and Eve are chilling in the river, you know, as people do when they're enjoying themselves. So says the text. And while they're chilling in the body of water, you have these 10 fine-ass girls, come up out of the river, just emerge from the river is the way that this is written. They come up out of it in presence of Adam and Eve. And they say amongst themselves, so the inner earth, Jesus help me. So the fair maidens who are actually Satan and demons, or hosts, say amongst themselves, "Come, we will look at the faces of Adam and of Eve, who are of the men upon earth." That's different. Of the men, there's like a differentiation that is happening within the conversation. How beautiful they are. How different is their look from our faces. Then Adam and Eve basically have the same thought. Then they came to Adam and Eve and greeted them and stood wondering at them. So like oogling at them. Adam and Eve looked at them also and wondered at their beauty as well. And they said, "Is there then under us another world with such beautiful creatures as these in it?" This is totally different. This makes you think. Because they're setting up a divide between them, which is different than what they've been doing. Just rising out of the water like mermaids. That's like what I'm picturing, though. It's just a slew of beautiful ladies just rising from the river. Just sopping wet, dripping hair. It's a beautiful picture, but it's very odd. But the separation is what I'm very interested in. So first, the demons, who are of the men upon earth, separation. Then Adam and Eve, is there then under us another world, separation, with such beautiful creatures? It's very, very, very interesting to me. And those maidens said to Adam and Eve, "Yes, indeed, we are an abundant creation. We are an abundant creation." Then Adam said to them, "But how do you multiply?" That's a fair question. That's a fair question. And they answered him, "We have husbands who wedded us, who married us, and we bear them children." Of course, silly, that's how it works. "Who grow up and who in their turn wed and are wedded and also bear children, and thus we increase." "And if so be, O Adam, thou wilt not believe us, We will show you our husbands and our children. This has got to be my favorite verse out of the whole thing so far. We have, how do you multiply? Says Adam to them. Well, we marry men. We have their children. The kids grow up. They marry more men. They have more children. And then there's more of us. And thus we increase. They're explaining how reproduction works to Adam. And if so be, O Adam, you will not believe us. So, Adam, if you don't believe this very simple biological math, that it could not be more apparent, we'll show you our husbands. If you don't believe us, we'll show you our husbands and our kids. We will prove it to you. This is the weirdest exchange that has happened so far. Then they shouted, which is kind of saying something. Then they shouted over the river as if to call their husbands and their children. So without being prompted, Adam wasn't like, yeah, I don't believe you. Let's see the children and the husbands. They shouted over the river as if to call their husbands and their children who came up from the river, from the freaking river. Men and children, and everyone came to his wife, his children being with him. So they delivered on it. But when Adam and Eve saw them, they stood dumb. And they stood dumb and wondered at them. Then, this is ridiculous. Then they said to Adam and Eve, you see our husbands and our children. You see our husbands and our children. Wed Eve as we wed Eve as we wed our wives, and you shall have children the same as we did. This was a device of Satan to deceive Adam. I'm dying. So this whole thing ended up being a ploy from the previous lie about the wedding, the oath that Satan made Adam take, trying to convince Adam to marry, and then Adam feeling guilty about it before God, and blah, 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 blah. But this whole extremely bizarre turn of events and then conversation, the whole point was to validate the lie of wedding Eve. This is wild. Nah, no wonder this is freaky. Did Adam and Eve think they were demons or aliens? I think rivers is Greek. Yeah, think rivers in Greek mythology. Yeah, this is bizarre. On its face, it's bizarre. Long-winded. It's extremely long-winded. It's very detailed. It's a very detailed ploy. Okay, I'm gathered. We're good. Satan also thought within himself, God at first commanded Adam concerning the fruit of the tree, saying to him, eat not of it, else of death you shall die. But Adam ate of it, and yet God did not kill him, but only decreed upon him death, and plagues and trials until the day he shall come out of his body. Now then, if I deceive him to do this thing, and to wed Eve without God's commandment, God will kill him. So the whole thing is still the normal plan of trying to destroy them. Therefore, what a detailed and wickedly weird plan. This is my favorite that we've dealt with so far. Absolute favorite. Therefore did Satan work this apparition before Adam and Eve, because he sought to kill him and to make him disappear from the face of the earth. Meanwhile, the fire of sin came upon Adam, and he thought of committing sin. But he restrained himself, fearing lest if he followed this advice of Satan, God would put him to death. So Adam seems to have a grip on the fact that he shouldn't do it. Then Adam and Eve arose and prayed to God, while Satan and his hosts went down into the river in presence of Adam and Eve, to let them see that they were going back to their own regions. So Satan and the host descended back into the river, masquerading as 10 beautiful women, assuming the husbands and the children, that we don't get any information on it. Are they hosts also? What's the deal with that? But you can assume that they are. So there's a slew of 20, at least 30. There's at least 30 people or beings that are descending into the river, Please picture that for a minute, and I'll do the math for you. We had 10 hosts. These were the demons that were masquerading as beautiful women that emerged up out of the river. 10. Okay. Then, without being prompted, they had to defend their math on biological replacement theory and bringing more people into the world. So starting at 10, then they have to bring their husbands and their children. Assuming each couple has one kid only, that brings us to 30. 10 women, 10 men, and 10 children. So now the scene is you have 30 people just descending into the river as if that's normal. Going back to their own region. That's separation. Then Adam and Eve went back to the cave of treasures as they were wont about evening time. And they both arose and prayed to God that night. Adam remained standing in prayer, yet not knowing how to pray, by reason of the thoughts of his heart regarding his wedding Eve. And he continued so until morning. And when light arose, Adam said to Eve, "Arise, let us go below the mountain, where they brought us gold, and let us ask the Lord concerning this matter." Then Eve said, "What is the matter, O Adam?" And he answered her, "That I may request the Lord to inform me about wedding you, girl, for I will not do it without his order, lest he make us perish, lest he kill us, you and me. For those devils have set my heart on fire with thoughts of what they showed us in their sinful apparitions." Then Eve said to Adam, "Why need we go below the mountain? Let us rather stand up and pray in our cave to God, to let us know whether this counsel is good or not." Then Adam rose up in prayer and said, "O God, you know that we transgressed against you, and from the mountain we transgressed, and from the moment we transgressed, we were bereft of our bright nature, and our body became brutish, requiring food and drink, and with animal desires, sexual desires. Command us, O God, not to give way to them without your order, lest you bring us to nothing. For if you give us not the order, we shall be overpowered and follow that advice of Satan. If you don't give us the order, we will be overpowered and will follow the advice of Satan." What a thing to say. "And you will again make us perish. You will again kill us." That's quite the cinematic scene. I agree. "If not, then take our souls from us. Let us be rid of this animal lust. And if you give us no order respecting this thing, then sever Eve from me, and me from her, and place us each far away from each other." Because he's very blatantly saying they will not practice self-control. He said, if you don't order us to get married, which would allow them to make sweet love, he said, we will be overpowered, and we will follow the advice of Satan, which will cause us to perish. So, if not, then take our souls from us. Let us be rid of this animal lust. And if you give us no order, if you won't give us the order to get married so that we can deal with the lust, then separate us far away from each other. Yet again, O God, when you have put us asunder from each other, the devils will deceive us with their apparitions and destroy our hearts and defile our thoughts towards each other. Yet if it is not each of us towards the other, it will, at all events, be through their appearance when they show themselves to us. Here Adam ended his prayer. So wild, man, so wild. I'm gonna read one more, and then I gotta start wrapping up here. The betrothal of Adam and Eve. Here we go. Then God looked upon the words of Adam, that they were true, and that he could long await his order, respecting the counsel of Satan. God looked upon the words of Adam, that they were true, and that he could long await his order, respecting the counsel of Satan. Interesting. And God approved Adam in what he had thought concerning this, and in the prayer he had offered in his presence. And the word of God came to Adam and said to him, "O Adam, if only you had this caution at first, if you're earnest out of the garden, into this land. After that, God sent his angel who had brought gold, and the angel who had brought incense, and the angel who had brought myrrh to Adam, that they should inform him respecting his wedding Eve. So this is actually the real angels who did that, not Satan pretending to be them. Then those angels said to Adam, take the gold and give it to Eve as a wedding gift and betroth her. Then give her some incense and myrrh as a present. And be ye, thou and she, and be you and her one flesh. There. Adam hearkened to the angels and took the gold and put it into Eve's bosom in her garment and betrothed her with his hand. Gotta love it. Then the angels commanded Adam and Eve to arise and pray 40 days and 40 nights. There's that again. And after that Adam should come. Sorry, I almost slipped right into that one. And so the angels commanded Adam and Eve to pray for 40 days. I'm a child. To pray for 40 days and 40 nights. And after that Adam should make sweet love to his wife. And then this would be an act pure and undefiled. Pure and undefiled. And he should have children who would multiply and replenish the face of the earth. This is very interesting because this is really originating from something of Satan. I'm going to have to go back and read again because I'd like to confirm what my thoughts on this are. But all appearances are that Adam and Eve were kind of duped into the situation to begin with. And then Adam essentially goes to God and is like, look, I need you to give me the command to do this because otherwise I'm going to do it anyways. And then you're going to kill us. So if you're not going to give the command to us, would you please just separate us so that we can't do it even if we wanted to? It's very odd. It's a very odd situation. Then both Adam and Eve received the words of the angels, and the angels departed from them. Then Adam and Eve began to fast and pray until the end of 40 days, and then they came together, as the angels had told them. And from the time Adam left the garden until he wedded Eve were 223 days. That is 7 months and 13 days. Thus was Satan's war with Adam defeated. Super interesting. Adam seemed, you could say he learned, but there's so much more. There's so much more to it. There's so much to this. We're nearing the end of this, by the way. So we'll go into the second book, I want to say within the next, next week. So when we come back Thursday, 40 days of fast and prayer. Yeah, and then there was another mention earlier of a 40-day prayer as well. When we come back next week, though, we'll finish this. And then if we have any of those notes of things we wanted to come back to, we'll do that after. Because this shouldn't take very long. And then we will come into... Oh, no, not that. There you go. Discord's on the screen now. After we finish these last few chapters, next week, we'll come into this study discussion section. And we'll come into the Adam and Eve 1 and 2. And maybe we'll cover some of this stuff. Or rehash some of this stuff. Like we kind of planned on. So if anything else has popped up as we've been reading this, you can leave it in this section of the Discord. It's study discussion under the Bible study section. And then you just need to find the Adam and Eve 1 and 2. And then you can throw it in here. And we'll come back through any of this that is relevant to this text. Because not all of it is. It was people were talking, some it looks like. But any of it that's relevant, we'll kind of like rehash, maybe look into it a little bit. And then just chat. And then whenever we've kind of satisfied ourselves with that, we'll come back into... or start the second book. Probably. But at any rate, we're done next week. So we'll be moving on. So at some point next week, too, because this one is short. This is maybe 3 weeks. unless we do a lot of talking. It's roughly 3 weeks. So at some point next week, I'll probably post a poll again in the announcement section. So make sure you have the little notification thing on. I promise you it won't go off often. If maybe 3-5 times a week, like tops at most. But I'll post a poll in here for the next apocryphal text that we want to read. So this is not everything, but it's a lot of it. So there'll probably be 3 to 5 options, and then you guys will pick. And whatever you guys want to read, we will jump into next. Yeah, this is missing quite a few. But interesting stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. I wonder if the ending will be even more interesting. But if not, each time that I've started to get the Book of Giants right, that's right. I'm sure that'll get picked anyways. But I will put another couple options in there. But the Book of Giants looks really good. So it'll be the Book of Giants. I want to say Maccabees was one of the other ones people were talking about for a while. And then there was another one. It's in Discord somewhere. I'll find it. But there was another one specifically that people were talking about a little bit. Is it Benjamin? I don't know. I'll look. But that Maccabees, I think, another one that I'll find. And then the Book of Giants was the other one. And I assume Book of Giants is probably where we'll go. Because it would probably be the most interesting. So I'll do the same thing. After again, we're not doing that yet. But after the second book of Adam and Eve, depending on which next text we go into, if I have to find another source, I'll do that, and then I'll share that in Discord. So anybody who's like reading along, you'll have it. And then we'll just kind of see. Sunday will still just be Genesis. We're getting closer to the end of that, and then Genesis we're just reading chronologically. So from Genesis, we'll move in chronological order because we're going to read through the Old Testament in that order so that the story flows as much as it can. We're not going to read the Old Testament in order the way it is in your Bible, for those of you who are new. We're reading it chronologically. We already talked about Thursday. And then I'm hoping to next week or the week after add the third stream. I need to talk to Kat a little bit more, and a bunch of things are changing with my schedule. But that's the plan. So within the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, we'll add what looks to be Tuesday. So I just need to get that all sorted out. And then it seems as though we want to keep the schedule the way it is. So what it would be Sunday would be the canon, which right now we're in the Old Testament, chronological order. Tuesday would be the open discussion topic. So every week I'd post a poll in the announcements. And if you go back far enough, you can see what that looked like. Is that I would post a poll of like topics, and everybody would pick. We used to do movie night. Maybe we'll bring that back at some point. But we had these topics, right? Salvation, a deep dive, a Gartho, which Rodriguez desperately wants to do. Open discussion, the history of Disney, which was like conspiracy stuff. But if you go back far enough, you can see kind of how that functioned. But that's what it would be, is I'd post a handful of topics, like right here. Souls, what are they? Movie night discussion. Can communism work? History of drugs and governments. The topics will likely be much more theological than some of these were at the end here. But it'll just be a collection of topic ideas. Then you guys will pick, and then we'll do that. Turning the other cheek as a principle, here's a better example. Divorce for Christians, is it okay? History of the Catholic Church, and then sleep paralysis, is it demonic? It would be topics like those. Not so much cultural stuff, probably. Not so much conspiracy stuff, probably. Much more so theological, scriptural, historical, things like that. That will be Tuesday. And I believe it was 6 that people voted the most for. 6 p.m. So that's the long-term plan over the next month. Get all that rolling. Done. Have a lovely night. This was fun. This was a very interesting one. And just remember, if anything that's popped up during this text, come to the study discussion in the Bible study section, open that, find the Adam and Eve 1 and 2, click that, and then you can leave questions or verses or an idea or whatever that relates to this first text of Adam and Eve, and then we'll go over some of that stuff if you guys want to. Otherwise, we can go right into the second book. I don't care. You guys are the bosses. So I'll ask and you guys will tell me. But it's an option. Yes, it is an option. And then hopefully I will move to the Book of Giants soon after the second one because it is short. All right, I'm out. I'm going to bed. I love you very, very much. It's been a blast. And see you in Discord. Sunday Genesis. Have a lovely night, y'all.